Hi, everyone. So this is Fa from Sunset Cellars and Suisun Valley Wine Co-op. Today, I am joined by my friend Jaton Gunter.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? This is Jaton Gunter, owner of Grapes and Sound Publishing, author and sommelier.
This month of February, is the Black History Month. Can always benefit from learning about Black history and celebrating it with all of us. And even though this is halfway through the month, we are celebrating through the whole month. So thank you for joining me.
Before I get into this, I want to let everybody know that's listening that I am not the voice of all Black people. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of questions about Black history and Black people, and we are not a monolith. We are all different. There's a lot of Malcolms and Martin Luther Kings in our group. So we all march to the beat of our own drum, but I will tell you my own personal ideas and thoughts about things. So with that being said, Black History Month. Black History Month is very important. I am a person currently that I try to live more in the present and in the future, but you have to know your past in order to move on to the future. So this is a celebration month. Even though we had a lot of stuff that happened, to me, I'm celebrating my Black people through, doing my Wine Wednesdays and, trying to showcase Black winemakers. I do it throughout the year, but I really focus on February as the month that I really showcase Black winemakers on Wednesdays, my Wine Wednesday shows. And just kind of giving credit to the people that have kind of moved the needle for us,
Right.
thus far. So,
Yeah, and okay, so that's actually a good lead to my second question, which is, Black History Month as a whole, as a person, but how about as a professional, a Black professional in the wine industry? Like, how have you found the industry to be like?
I will tell you. So I've been in the industry roughly 15 years. Started off as a wine blogger, like writing about like wines that I found that are really cheap that you can find. Good wines cheap.blogspot.com. Still up there. I don't post anymore, but that was it. But so when I first got into the industry, I was, finding bottles at Trader Joe's, at Bevmo, things like that, and trying to figure it out. But the problem was, although I was accumulating all this knowledge about wine and writing about it, trying to find discounts and stuff like that, people didn't know me. And so I would go into these tasting rooms, right? And, I'm Black. And at the time, 15 years ago, I mean, of course, there were Black people in the industry, but at the time, 15 years ago, I would go in tasting rooms, and not all places, but a lot of them were probably just like, well, I don't know what they were thinking, but it felt like I was kind of like being ignored a little bit. Like I'd be on the end, I wanted to do a tasting, right? Because they, a lot of times you go in those tasting rooms, they have like, you can, taste different types of flights. They'll charge like $15, $5, or whatever.
Right.
And so I'd be sitting there, and then I would be ignored for a while. And the funny thing was, I'd see other people coming in that were not, of my complexion coming in, and they'd be like, hey, sit right here, we'll get right to you. And they would be right on them, So at the time, I did feel that way. And when it happened, I would just walk out. Like, it wouldn't be something I don't get upset. I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. And I just walk out. You won't get my business. And then I also love the look of surprise too, when I start talking about wine to people that they were nice to me when I came in. But then they pour me the wine and they just think I'm just like a regular like person. They're just like, oh, whatever, although, and I see them kind of paying a little bit more, I guess, attention to the other people. Once I start talking about the wine, you can see the light bulb go off. Like, oh, he knows about wine. Oh, I need to like, what's going on? This is interesting. I don't see a lot of Black people. This is what I imagine is going on in their head at the time.
Right.
I try not to take too much offense, but that was like, it was definitely something that made me want to write the book I wrote, Fruit and Glass, because I wanted to like kind of make it easier for people who look like me, and also people who just want to get into wine and don't understand wine. I wanted to make the barrier of entry to the wine industry easier for them.
It wasn't clear to me when, until I started looking for it, right? The lack of representations of Black people in the industry on both sides, on both the professional side, but also the drinker side. Like when you go to Napa Valley, for example, it's once in a while I would look around and it's like take stock of how how many different types of people there are,
Yeah.
right? And more often than not, you would not see so many Black people out there. And I wonder, it's like, is that because the environment out there, or the environment we create in the tasting room, make it less comfortable for people to come in? What do you think?
So that's a good question. You know what? This is me just kind of thinking out loud with this question. Wine is considered a luxury good. So
Right.
it's not something that we would gravitate to, because for a long time we've just been treading water. We've just been trying to survive,
Mm,
period.
mm,
And
mm.
so when you see somebody drinking wine and you're Black, and you see another black person drinking wine, at least back in the day, they'd be like, oh, this guy think he, like, they'd be looking at you, especially if it's a guy, they'd be looking at you like you were like crazy. It's not part of the community as a whole, especially
Right.
from where I come from. And
Uh-huh.
so, like, I think that once we started realizing that wine is not expensive, and
Right.
and you can find great wine at lower prices,
Yeah.
and it is accessible to you. You don't have to
Hmm.
feel a way about it. I think now I've noticed, like, specifically for my my old spot, I noticed a lot of Black people coming into our
Yeah.
business in the last like 4 years.
Hmm.
That 4 years prior there was hardly any. So I think
Right.
it's changing. I think the pendulum is swinging a little bit, but I think originally, when they were trying to, like, when we were just surviving, we go to the corner store or whatever, we grab like a OE, like 40s and stuff like that. That
Sure.
was part
Yeah.
of our survival mechanism.
Uh-huh.
Wine was not part of that. But I think now
Right.
that it's accessible for us, and we know it's accessible for us at the price,
Yeah.
we're starting to kind of pull out of that survival mode, not fully, but trying to pull out of survival mode and get more into enjoying things that we consider luxuries that are
Right.
above
Right.
that
Right.
level.
Right. 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 Yeah. And I mean, I think the wine industry have now done more to make wine feel more accessible in general,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
That, there might have been in the past, like, this air of snootiness, air of
Yeah.
luxury that attached to wine, and people find it really inaccessible. Uh,
Yes.
but now, and hopefully, we're part of that as well. I always make sure that people who walk in the door at the co-op or at for Sunset, no matter where they are in their wine journey, we
Yeah.
meet them where they are, right? If this
Yeah.
is the first
Okay.
time, I love it when people come in for the first time and they say that, like, they've never been wine drinking or wine tasting before,
Yeah.
right? And I would, like, let me walk you through the
Yes.
little weird rituals that we do, right?
Yes. I
And,
mean,
like,
that's part of it, right? Like, we're educating in something that we love, right?
yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like when people walk into your place, you should be accessible for them. You should be, like, whether they're brand new to the industry or not, brand new to wine or not, we should be there kind of, hey, how can I help you? And then we find out where they're at, right? You kind of meet them
Mhm.
where they're at. You want to find out where that is.
Right.
And then some people, of course, some people that are in the wine industry that, for example, come into they would come in and we'd start talking about wine, and I already knew they didn't want no, like, really no discussion. They just wanted to marinate on their wine and just enjoy it. And you read that situation and you say,
Yep.
I get it,
Perfect. Done.
you're thinking,
Yeah.
right? But if you need anything, I'm here for you.
So I wonder if you have any thoughts about, like, how, the industry as a whole, or individual winery like ourselves, can do better to make the industry, and wine as a beverage more accessible and more welcoming to people.
So let's talk about, like, tasting rooms and wine bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let me just talk for myself. For me, it's about first impression. So when I
Mm-hmm.
walk into a place, I want to know that you see me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't need you to give me special attention,
Right.
but I just want to feel like you see me and I'm of equal footing with everybody in there. And the ways to
Mm-hmm.
do that is immediate. Like, when someone walks in the door, I don't care, black, white, or whatever, you greet them and you
Mm-hmm.
say, I'll be right with you. That
Right.
right there says, okay, I need to be a little patient to be helped because he's busy right now, or she's
Right.
busy right now. So the greeting is important.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you walk up to somebody, you walk up with a blank slate. You
Right.
try, we all have prejudices. Like, let's keep it real. Like, everybody, if you don't have certain types of friends, like, say you don't have gay friends, say you don't have Latin friends, you're gonna
Right.
have you're gonna see what you see on TV and automatically prejudge who they are without
Preconception,
even
right?
knowing who they are, because you don't have any kind of, you have no context. You don't you never hung out with them. So I feel like go up, like, understanding that you have prejudices, put that on the back burner, walk up with a blank slate to who they are. Don't start judging immediately. And then you say, how can I help you? Once you guys start talking, then you start understanding that maybe they know a little bit about wine, or maybe they know nothing about wine and I need to walk them through it. Let me make
Right.
sure I do something. That's one thing. Actually, no, that's probably the biggest thing in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that you don't treat anybody different, but you definitely walk up to everybody with blank slate, or try to have like a blank slate when you're walking up to them, when you're approaching them, and make sure you greet them when you walk in the when they walk in the door. And I think that would be important for wine bars and wine shops and vineyards. As far as on a bigger level, on a bigger plateau, I guess, I think people need to try black wines more often. Black winemakers are on equal footing as all other winemakers. You will find a wine that you like from a black winemaker, because again, they're not a monolith. They make all different styles of wines, Italian varietals, French varietals, champagnes now with Stuyvesant, out in Brooklyn. Like, we're all over the place. You just got to do a little research and try the black winemakers. I think you need to really, not you, I'm talking about like everybody. I think they need to really do their homework and dive into the industry and learn more.
Right. Now, why? So playing devil advocate here, they might say it's like, well, why does it matter if a wine was made by a black person, a white person, or an Asian person, right? Why should someone seek out specifically black wine? My perspective is this: there are thousands of wineries out there, right? California and otherwise, but there's only, you can list them all on one page, like 50 or something like that, black owned wineries out there. And white, like, black people account for many more than that, right? So why is that? And we can talk about, maybe it's harder for a black winemaker to really break it into the industry, right? Maybe it's harder for them to sell wine into distribution, because it's not so much about the consumer, because the consumer don't actually, when they see a bottle, they don't actually see like the people behind the label, but the people who make those bottles available to you are the one making decisions, and maybe those decisions were biased in some way. So if you as a consumer vote with your wallet and say, I want these labels because I want to support those causes, then it would make it, give extra reasons for a distributor, for the second tier in the T-trade systems, to want to represent, right?
But again, black winemakers are not a monolith. Like, some may want to play into that and want you to know that they are a black winemaker, but some winemakers that are black are like, look, it's not about that. It's about, I'm a winemaker. Go check out my juice and see if it's better than everybody else's juice. So I get both sides again, you know what I mean? Like, I understand the side that wants to play into the, like, say this is black owned and represent that, because I get that. I'm black. I want y'all to know where this is coming from, right? But then I also understand the other side that's like, look, this is juice. I want you to figure out whether my juice is better than all these guys that you have, these big names that you think are so amazing. I want to see if it beats them down. So
that's why I love a blind tasting and wine in general. It's like, it's just juice in your glass, right? And there's no bias. No one tell you who made it, who has grown, or where it's from. It's just what's in your glass. But when it's in bottle, when it has a name attached to it, right? It's like, I, as an Asian winemaker and Asian business owner here, I feel the need to sometimes hide my Asianness a little bit, right, behind the glass, and we kind of put a name that sounds European, because that's what people come to expect about wine. If I put a name on my wine that sounds foreign, they might like, oh, what's this, right? So it might be the same thing with any non-European winemakers at all that has to struggle with that decisions.
Agreed. I absolutely agree with that. I understand where you're coming from with that. Because people want to feel connected, right? They want to feel connected, and if the face behind the thing they felt connected is not similar to theirs, I mean, this is a psychology thing. They tend to like, I don't know what this is about. I'm kind of Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. Right.
I get it.
Right. So it just make it harder for us to be ourselves and selling, being reflecting our identity in the
Yeah.
product. Like,
I'll be honest with you. For me, originally, so you know the black wino stuff, right? The black
mm-hmm.
wino that
Wearing
like
one
you
right
got
now.
one too. Yes, black wino hats, merch, all that stuff. Right. Originally, I didn't want to lean into that. I just want, I just want to be a wine professional. I want people to know me as a wine professional. I didn't want to lean into my blackness, but I'll be honest with you. The older I've gotten, the more I'm just like, I'm unapologetically black. Hey, when I walk into a room and you see me, I'm a black man, and I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying, and so yes, I have my black wino stuff, and I say it proudly, black wino. I don't want it to come. I don't want wine to come off pretentious, and I want y'all to know that this is a black brand that I've come up with, and that's what it is. Now I have wino. I love my wino stuff. I have other stuff, brown wino, because I have a lot of my Latin brothers and sisters that are in the game. And so like I have stuff that fits everybody, but originally the concept was behind black wino and coming from a black man. And so that's what it is, like I don't judge anybody for not being comfortable enough to doing that right now, or they're just about to, I get it. For me at this moment in my life, unapologetically, brother, black, and you're gonna know it. And that's what it is. So
no, love it. That's it. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers, brother.
So what I wanted to do is maybe do like a quick Q&A, a rapid round of Q&A with you. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you use the word black or African American?
So for me, I use black. I feel like just a quick answer or a reason for that. I don't have any problem with anybody who does use African American. I use black because if you're talking about white or Europeans, they just use the term American. There's nothing in front of it. Like, I don't understand why Asian Americans have to be Asian Americans. If you're born here, you're American. I don't understand why Native Americans have to be Native Americans. They were here before everybody.
Right, they were the real American.
They're real Americans, so they should be Americans. So I feel like we all should be, if we're born here, or have been naturalized here, we're Americans, and that's it. I'm not gonna let the Europeans steal that as they're acting like they're the true Americans.
Second question, your favorite black-owned winery?
There are so many. Like really, like there's so many that I really love.
Yeah, you can name a few. That's right. You don't have to do one.
If I was to go off the top of my head, I would say Theopolis. I love Theopolis. Their Petit Syrah is killer. Brown, of course. I think they make the best Zin in Napa, in my opinion. I really love Brown.
Okay.
And I think Longevity out of Livermore. Phil Long owns that place.
Mm-hmm.
They make outstanding balanced wines. There's so many other ones. I just had one recently that was a sparkling Sauvignon Blanc that was Bodkin.
Oh, Bodkin. Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome.
Their sparkling Sauvignon Blanc was killer. I loved it. And I was like, yo, why did I know about this before? So yeah, there's a lot of other black winemakers. P. Harrell. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Well, you will publish a list and I will forward them. So, okay, how about a black wine influencer or bloggers?
There's even more.
I know, right?
But, let me see. Let me give shout out to some of them. Anybody I missed, I am sorry because you know I love you. Hue Society is one of my favorites. Hue Society. Sipping Socialite is like they're tied together, the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing content. Vine of the Rhyme, I love them. I will be doing an interview with them on coming up soon. So I'm looking forward to that. George Walks 3, he works for Dwayne Wade, the basketball players.
Oh, wow, cool.
Winery in Napa. He has really cool content, and it's good to see a brother that's moved out here doing his thing in the wine industry. Stop Whining is another brother. He does like a lot of vlogs and tastings and stuff. Really cool dude. I would say in the industry, she's like the godmother of like California, like Northern California. Black Psalms, Noir Sommelier.
Oh yeah.
Amazing, like amazing stuff. She is like she should be like bowed down to. She's the shit.
Yeah,
Really have
for
a lot of
sure.
respect for her.
I've
And
seen
then
her work.
Shelby Wine, she's one of my favorites. She's a writer just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's written a poetry book. She's dope. She's dope. She's been in the wine industry for a long time. I dig her.
We will put the list down in the comment section.
Yes.
How about that?
That sounds good.
And everyone should go follow all of them. Next one, how about do you have a favorite MLK quote?
I do. But if I'm going to do an MLK quote, I have to do a Malcolm quote. If it's Martin Luther King, one of my favorite quotes, and it's kind of to what we were talking about earlier. An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I love that quote. I think that you can use that. I don't care if you're Black or not. You can use that for whatever you want to use it for. Homeless, like the stuff we see, the fact that people are not being helped out. I think this is that quote just kind of nails it, hits it right on the head. Like we all are in our own spaces in life. We're all in our own like levels of life. We have to be able to look down to anybody and see what's going on and try to help them out. Because if they're having problems, that says a lot about our whole society.
Exactly. It's a systematic problem. And I agree. That is a one quote that really gets me every time when I look at other injustice that sometimes I don't feel personally connected to. Yeah. Right. But that quote just bridges all across to say, you cannot turn your blind eyes to this. And you have to.
If we're all brothers and sisters, like for real, if we're all brothers and sisters, if we're all do unto your neighbor as you would want done unto you, like if we're all that, if we're collective, then anybody hurting in your community has to affect you. You got to do something about it. And that's just my opinion. That's how I was raised. Oh, yeah. So shout out to my mom and pops. Like they were on top of that.
Cheers to that,
mom and dad. They're not gonna like that I cussed earlier. I used the S word, and I realized that I did it, and I know they're gonna watch this and yell at me. But sorry, mom and dad.
I can edit it out.
No, leave it in there because I got to be honest with them.
Good.
And then the Malcolm one, I got to read this one. You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it. I love that. I think for right now, that is the perfect quote for what's going on right now.
Right.
It's okay to be a patriot of the United States, but if somebody is wrong, I don't care if you're in the police department. I don't care if you are in government. If they're wrong, they're wrong. It's about the truth of the matter. And you can, and I think that's actually more patriotic than anything, is to call it out when it's not conducive to the whole society as a whole.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that's actually remind me of the phrase right in the Constitution, to build the more perfect union. Yeah. It's the word "more perfect" implies that it wasn't perfect before, and we are striving to make it more perfect. And even when we make it more perfect, it's not the perfect, right? Yeah. There's always going to be room to build better. And I think to say that we already are perfect and we're going to go back to whenever the perfection was, is to ignore that spirit of ever growing, ever improving society that the forefather had envisioned.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend. That is exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like my journey's always been to always improve, always become a better person. I want people who knew me 15 years ago to see me now and be like, oh, he is definitely leveled up as far as who he is as a person. And I think that should be true for the whole society. I think that we should all be striving to be better. Don't get so comfortable in your own skin. Don't get so comfortable with the laws and regulations that once maybe suppressed people. Let's try to be better than that. Let's try to say, okay, this makes me feel uncomfortable that we have to change right now, but change is needed for us as a whole society, because again, a threat to anyone is a threat
injustice to everyone. That's right.
Injustice to everyone, yeah. So
yeah. Well, cheers to that again.
Cheers, brother.
All right. Last one. Is there a Black history fact that you didn't learn in school that you wish you had?
Yes, yes. My biggest thing, and I think this is probably maybe more one of the most important things um, that needs to be discussed, is the fact that money and laws have been used in concert to suppress a whole race of people. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is, for example, what I would love for them to discuss is there's this thing called redlining, right?
mm-hmm.
In real estate. And what was going on was that they were making sure that certain demographics of people could not move into certain neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just based off of their race,
Right.
making sure they couldn't get loans and things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so that's one thing that I think should be taught in school, because that's history. That really happened. I don't think
That's
we should
right.
split any history. I think we should let it open for everybody to know what's going on. So that's one thing, that the money and the laws like were in place to keep a group of people, after all the stuff that happened with slavery and then Jim Crow, still keep
That's
them in
right.
their box, not to let them to grow, allow them to grow.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I also would love for them to teach about the Black communities that rose above that,
Mm.
like Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Yep.
who,
Yep.
as a community, was one of the wealthiest communities in their area in Oklahoma. And then I also want to, I know this is hard for white people and like Europeans, but I also want to like I want them to see the conclusion of what happened. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
understand what happened. This should all be taught. I know it's a black eye on the history of the nation, but like Black history is history of the nation, so it should be taught. I needed taught that people that were white, that were outside of that community of Tulsa, came through and obliterated the whole city,
Mm-hmm.
and like messed up businesses, killed a bunch of people, and nothing ever came from it. So I need that to be taught in school, because it happened. This whole like whitewashing like slavery thing, where they're saying, "Oh, we saved you by bringing you over here," is BS. I'm not gonna say full, because my mom's probably
Right.
listening, but it's BS. It's not okay. And we need to teach history as it was. I don't believe in whitewashing history. I don't believe in
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
changing the narrative of history. I think it should be shared. And I wish I would have learned this in high school. I learned all this stuff when I was in college and after. Money and laws about around the Black community. That's what I want to know
For
about.
sure. And that's what informs in the way we move forward, right? And we build a more perfect place. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for educating me on your experience on the industry, Black History Month in general. So
Paul, I want to thank you for even reaching out to me about this. Like, I really appreciate you hitting me up and like, yo, I want to have a conversation, and I would love to have a conversation with you about this. So I appreciate you reaching out to me, man. I do. It's you don't get a lot of people, a lot of allies that do that, and I mean, I understand either way, whether they do or not, but I do appreciate you doing it. I really do. And cheers to you, brother.
yeah, well, cheers. Thank you.
Cheers to Black History Month.